Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I like. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series finale of Banshee. So in this episode, I will start off with the fact is that it proved my theory right. I knew it couldn't just have been Declan, and I love the fact is that it was Dawson who figured it out because she was like the way the girlfriend was acting. I was like, it's like Dawson was bringing up how the murders took place on certain nights, like why he ended up choosing his victims and stuff like that, and being like, oh, like basically his girlfriend was explaining like, oh, he chose people who were he believed to be pure. And I was like, and then Dawson was like, yeah, but he ended up changing because of me. She was like, you are a surprise. And the moment that started happening, I was like, wait a minute. The way this is going down is like the way you're asking all these questions. And she's like, and then there's like one victim that doesn't match that. And just basically, I was like, freaking Rebecca's like, he didn't kill Rebecca. And it was just like, that was the case. And the way the girlfriend was acting, she was looking at it, like, you could tell she didn't know what was going on. And the reason why she was so reluctant to answer, obviously she didn't want to help them out in any regards because she's like fine with them thinking Declan did it just because that way they wouldn't get the satisfaction of getting the right person, but ended up going to Hood about it. And it's just like, holy crap. That's what this all came like. It was just like I was like I knew it had to be someone else, and it's like it can literally only be two other people. Obviously, I was like is it Kai or is it? I was like, and he came down to it too because it's like it had to be someone that was like very familiar with the crime. So like I said, I was freaking right. Like I said, it always happens. Like I am right about something, but then I start doubting myself. I was just super right. I knew it had to be someone. I knew it had to be a personal. It had to be personal that Rebecca died, and I knew someone had to have staged the situation to make it look like the fit the other crimes. So, but it was like, who is it going to be? Is it Kai or Burton? Because it's like, who is it? I was like, my money was on Burton, and it ended up being him. Like, but there were moments I was like, no, maybe it is Kai. But the moment he went after Kai first, and I was like, it's not Kai, is it? It's fucking Burton. And looked in the car, and Burton's gone. I was like, shit. And they ended up like knocking it up a little bit, like fighting a little bit. I did like it a little bit that Kai ended up turning and he ended up seeing Rebecca and she's smiling and kind of like last time seeing her or whatever. And it's just like that fight with Burton was obviously going sideways because it's like Burton's pretty good at fighting. Let's not forget what he did to Alex's sister in their little showdown, which is like to me one of the best fights in the entire series. That I mean, for one, it had the most brutal ending, just like what he did to her. It's like, ugh. I can't help but grab my throat every time I think about that particular fight. But like Hood was getting choked out and he was just like thinking about everything that's happened and just all his experiences, and he was like, in some regards it did seem like he was okay with dying, because I guess in his mind he was thinking like, oh, he could be with Siobhan again or something like that, but then he thought about David and he's like, he's not about to leave this little girl behind, because she's basically going off to college, and he made a promise that when he leaves town that sometimes he'll drop in on her, he'll track her down and see her from time to time. So because David was bringing up the fact that she doesn't know if she's going to be ready to have a normal life because she's in the past couple all the time since Hood's been there, she's never had a normal life, especially in her family is far from normal, and he's basically like, yo, you got your smarts from your mom. I mean, basically you got being fearless kind of from your mom and your dad, and you kind of got it from us, so that you can do it, that just. It was kind of giving her a send off and being like, I promise that I'll come visit you. So that pushed him to kind of like fight back against Burton. He wasn't about to die, and I liked that he ended up. I love how that fight ended up being like the finale to that fight ended up being like all headbutts, just like bam, 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 and then he drug Burton over to Kai, and it's just like, because he did make the promise, he wasn't able to do it with Declan, but now that he has a real killer, he ended up bringing it to Kai. Kai gave him a kind of nod, and Hood just walked away. The way he makes it seem like he ended up killing Rebecca because Rebecca was ruining Kai, basically with what she was doing, the whole she was handling this business aspect of things. She was changing Kai, like ruining business opportunities that he was having. Like basically ever since she worked her way into his life, she basically had been ruining him. And I guess finding out that she was sleeping with Hood and was getting pregnant was kind of the last straw in that regards. That maybe that was the case, but he ended up killing her for that because he was saying he was doing it for Kai because he didn't want because everything he's ever done was for Kai. So, and Kai was like, it's okay, Burton, it's okay. And then snapped his neck, and then he just screamed out in pain because, like, now he literally has no one. The only two people in town he had was Burton as well as, Rebecca. They were the only two people he could rely on and he confided in. Now, to me, when I look back on that situation now, the whole cruise situation, maybe that wasn't Kai at all. Maybe that was Burton who gave that order, and maybe that was him cleaning house, or maybe that really was Kai. I don't know, because it's like, why wouldn't Hood come after Kai for that whole situation? I feel like he would have, because his actions, with Cruz and everything ended up, putting Dava's life in danger. But like I said, maybe Kai had nothing to do with it. Maybe he did. Maybe that was just like, maybe Burton has something to do with it, or maybe that was just 100% Cruz acting on her own, trying to thinking she'll be able to take down Carrie by herself, not realizing who Carrie really is. But on the other side of things, we before all that, we ended up having a situation with Kai and the drug guys. Basically, Carrie tried to make a deal, basically being like, okay, I just proved to you that Banshee's not the best place to set up shop, because I broke into here, and it's like, how did I get in here? So it's like, obviously Banshee's not the best place. So she's like, just pack your drugs, won't charge you anything, just kind of leave Banshee. And just was walking away, and it's like, did you actually think I would let you walk away? And he was like, and she was like, no, I actually did. And you see a freaking rocket launcher, and it's just freaking awesome. God, I'm blinking on his name, Brock. Which, there was a very interesting thing I heard, like, after the credits and everything like that. It's just, the cast saying their goodbyes was just like, oh, broke my heart. It's just like, everybody one by one, and the main characters saying goodbye, past characters, them talking about the actor who played Emmett talking about being a black cop fighting Nazis, and then Siobhan, Tristy Kelly Dunn saying her goodbyes, and saying, that she's going to miss playing Siobhan. But it was like, the fact of the matter is, which I found fascinating, is they actually never had plans to make Brock ever become sheriff. That was probably like a last minute decision they made for season 4. I thought that was so fascinating. From the very beginning, they never had any plans to make him sheriff. And then I love the fact is that the actor Matt Servito was kind of like, showing off the badge to the camera and everything. I thought that was pretty neat. But to me, the moment he fired that rocket, it immediately made me think of, was it that season 1's finale where we had that Russian or Ukrainian, don't want to be, I'm pretty sure they're Ukrainian and not Russian, but guy firing the missile launcher, and then we had Brock firing a bullet, and it ended up hitting the missile and it ended up making it explode. Like, that's what just kind of went to my mind. And he's just like, yeah, I just blew up your drugs. And then I love it that he was in a car with her and Joe, and he was just like, yeah, Miss Hope, he's like, here, you have to stop this shit. She's basically like, he's like, because of you, there's always something going on. And she's like, don't worry, this is the last time. Which, obviously that's kind of a double entendre, because it's like, this is the last time because there's no more Banshee after this. But then you hear Job saying, I've heard that shit before. But ended up destroying that, and that whole situation led to a kind of a final showdown, which is like, we don't know exactly. I mean, you can interpret it, you can take it however you want to, because basically Brock was like, you know what, let's not arrest Kai, because now that he ended up killing a lot of those cartel guys, the cartel's going to send more guys to come after him, and it's like, the last thing we need is him locked up in a cell, and we end up getting caught up in a crossfire too. He's like, I've learned from experience. Basically, every time something's going down, every time the freaking police station kept getting hit over the course of the series because of anyone they've had inside the police station, especially in some regards, it's been him in some cases. So it's like let's save ourselves the headache, which I've never commented on. The fact is that police station has changed a lot. I mean, it's like, it has been blown up and shot at like so many damn times over the series. At least 3 or 4 times. I'm surprised it ended up staying intact this entire season. I was thinking like, oh, we're going to do it one more time. It's like, no. I mean, because obviously it got bigger and better. It's like, because like there are more, like, there's much more on the top levels, because the top levels were never really used that much in the previous seasons, at least not to my recollection. So it was very interesting to see, like, like, oh, that's where Brock's office is and everything. It's just a very interesting situation. And we ended up finding out apparently that Senator was actually part of the Brotherhood. He was like the one that gave Watts his orders. He's like, because Calvin's like, no, Watts was a betrayal. Like he wasn't doing our best interest. And it's like, no, Watts was following my orders. So it turns out that's why the senator was involved. I thought it was just because he was in Proctor's pocket. It's like, no, he was part of the Brotherhood and basically told him to kind of like the Brotherhood to back down. And he ended up bitch slapping Calvin like twice. It's sad. Calvin, was tired of being being someone's bitch. So he ended up killing Watts, and he ended up severing ties with Proctor, but he ended up being embarrassed and made a fool of, which, that eventually led to him confronting Kurt. It's like, oh, first you take my wife. And I forgot about the fact of the matter is that Kurt was the one that brought him into the Brotherhood, but he's the one that kind of walked away from it. He's like, basically, why have your own life when you can steal mine, right? And it led to them fighting. And it's like, the sad thing is Kurt didn't want it to go down that way. He didn't want to kill his brother. He knew he didn't have any choice in the matter, but it's just like them knuckling up like that. He could have easily just shot Calvin from the beginning, but he didn't want to. He's like, bro, just like walk away from this. We can just walk away from this. Is like, but basically when it was all said and done, he's like, I will find her. They will kill you. They will slit your throat in front of her, and then they will rip her apart. I will kill my own son before I even let you raise him, and end up putting bullets in him and kind of holding him. And it's just kind of like, which interestingly enough, Kurt ends up staying in town when it's all said and done, because I thought he would have left town with Maggie in that regards, but it's like, no, he's staying in town. Oh God, I'm blanking. Carrie is staying in town. Apparently, she's apparently getting Max back because she tells that to Hood. Which, surprisingly enough, I thought we would have found out his name. Still didn't. The entire series went by, which is like, I guarantee you that's probably going to be something that the creators might decide one day is like, yeah, we'll finally let you know what his name is, or they'll probably not. Because, which interestingly enough, when Dawson finally sees him like off, she's like basically like, okay, you, if you're ever in DC, come, make sure you track me down or whatever. And when she left, she ended up leaving a file on his bed, which I'm trying to interpret. Did they have sex or not? I'd like to think that they did, just because, it was always supposed to lead there. They just never had an opportunity to. I was like, I don't know, like, because he was sleeping in the bed like that. So I'm thinking maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But basically, she had his files. So I don't know whether she knew from the very beginning who he was, or was that something she acquired after she got to Banshee and got to know him a little bit. And regardless, she knows exactly who he was. But obviously she didn't say or act upon it, but I still don't think that affects the fact is that she likes him. I am a little sad, for one, obviously the season being a little bit shorter, that we didn't get a little bit more time with Dawson. It's just like, because for one, I love any excuse to see Elijah Dushku. That woman is so talented, and she's like an amazing actress, and she's so ridiculously beautiful. I'm just like, oh, I love you, Elijah Dushku. I love you so much. I'm sorry, I need to calm my ass down. But it's just like, I really loved, like I said, I kind of like diverted heavily from it, but the whole situation with Proctor, it's like, okay, like he kind of goes out there Scarface style, and the last thing we see is him pointing the guns and like spraying bullets. So it's like that's the last cut we get to see. So it's like most likely ended up dying, but who knows? And just like all around, it was just kind of like saying goodbye to everybody. We even saw like because Brock in the end has become more like Hood in regards of the fact is that he was like essentially letting Kurt go with the BS story that he gave about like about why Calvin ended up being dead, but basically saying like sometimes you have to do bad things to do to get the job done, to do the good things. And he's just like, essentially that's I just got to know that I can trust you. So it's like a lot of like Hood's situation ended up rubbing off on him. And I did like the fact that he's in his office and he's looking down at Hood in the middle of it, and they kind of nod towards each other, kind of showing respect. And it's just like, yeah, it's like no matter what you say, it's just like you can't deny I know it's very interesting. Like Brock is a completely different definitely a very different sheriff than he thought he would have turned out to be. And I did like the fact is that Sugar had brought it up. The fact is that he was like, when he was kind of saying his goodbyes to Hood, he was like, someone would say like you were kind of like the best sheriff in this, the best thing that kind of happened to this town, like being the best sheriff. And then Hood was kind of like, yeah, some other people would say I was like the worst fucking sheriff ever. So it's kind of debatable, which I didn't bring it up last episode. I completely forgot to bring it up. But the fact is that he actually admitted that after, becoming Hood and everything, he actually kind of enjoyed being a cop in some sick, twisted way. He enjoyed it. he liked pretending to be a cop. He actually, because no matter what was said and done, he actually did, even though he was pretending and even at the same time he was stealing, he actually did a pretty good job in most regards of being a cop. So, like I said, like I was told going into this season thinking that it was like, oh, like the way season 3 ended, where it seemed like, oh, like, Hood walked away from the job mainly because of the whole Siobhan thing. And it's like he walked away from it and then like he's sitting there with Kai, and I'm like, I thought the next season was going to begin with him working with Kai or something like that, or it's like, oh, it's like, okay, we got this time skip, so he did some work with Kai. It's like, nope, that never came up. So probably like when we cut away from that, it was either that was something that they left it there at the end of season 3 and decided to completely change it going into this final season, or that when it cuts away from Black, maybe like off screen, it's kind of like Hood was kind of like, you know what, fuck you, Proctor, and just walked away. It's like, screw you trying to offer me a job type of thing. But we had Job saying goodbye, just goodbyes all around. Job ended up giving Sugar his money, retirement money, basically the money that he had given away to, everyone had pulled their money together to get Job back. So he give it back to me because it's like, you were a little too old to be, fixing drinks all the time. So just his final words being, Banshee, Pennsylvania. Suck my tit. It's just like, yes, Job, you had to go out strong, and you did. You came to this town hating it, and you left hating it. You go, Job. I know it's such a stupid thing to back up, but it's just like, thank you, Job, for going out in the usual Job fashion. I'm so glad Job ended up, obviously, Job ended up, becoming, more, kind of returning back to himself. Job ended up, from what we can tell, he did say he was going back to New York, so be kind of interesting to see what they do. Would be nice to know where everyone goes from here. But just overall, last thing we see is obviously Hood leaving town on a motorcycle, leaving town the same way he came into town. And at the very end, last thing we see is Sugar leaving the bar, so he's leaving town too. So it's like, maybe in some shape or form their paths will cross again. I doubt Hood will ever come back to Banshee. I mean, I feel like on some regards he's going to have to, because, to check in on Anna from time to time. She's like, don't forget about me. It's like, there's no way he's ever going to forget about you, because you're like the one of the first women he ever fell in love with, and you'll always, have a special place in his heart, because he was basically like, the entire time I was in prison, you were always there with me. She's like, I will always be with you. So very touching ending. We kind of got the conclusions to everything. All loose ends were tied. So man, just like I said, to me, my favorite part is just like, because I ended up turning back to it as the first airing of it was ending, because I was I watched the encore presentation of it, but I was like, oh, I saw the very ending part with Sugar, and I was like, oh, no, don't watch it. And then I ended up sticking around and ended up seeing the little thing where everyone was kind of saying their goodbyes, and after all this time, it's just like, I love and adore this show. I'm so sad to see it go. Like I said, I wish we had 2 more episodes with it, but still, I'm glad that they gave it the ending they gave it. And it's just like, it does make you wonder like where everyone is now. Like, I wish there was like a little bit of an extra. There was like there was that spin-off of it, the Banshee Origins. I know they're little shorts, basically telling you like kind of eventually like all the stuff that led to all the stuff prior to anything that stuff. It's kind of like more character developing and showing you how some things ended up the way they did prior to Hood coming to town. So, but like I said, very interesting. The fact is that we still never got his name. But still, that's a mystery I can live with. I was so sure that he would have ended up telling Brock his name or something. I was thinking like, oh, maybe they'll zoom in on his file that he got from Dawson. It makes you wonder, was that the original copy that she gave to him just so that he could like disappear? Or was that just, I feel like that wasn't the original. It most likely was a copy or whatever. But still, like, I know who you are and I accept it. It's like, there's nothing wrong with this. Like, so maybe him and Dawson will cross paths in the future. I think that'd be kind of interesting. But, the fact of the matter is he's out there, there's no telling what he'll do now. Obviously, he's going to keep an eye on Dava and stuff like that. But like I said, I want to keep talking because I don't want to let it go. This is a beautiful series. It was sad to see everyone having to say goodbye, especially, Ulrich Thompson, the actor who plays Kai, Lily Simmons, just everyone. It's very interesting finding out that basically the actor who plays, I can't think of his name right now, but the actor who played Burton actually was like a Shakespearean actor, and he's like, the people behind it was like, we literally got a Shakespearean actor to play the character that says the least amount of words, and he was still like, everyone was thankful for this opportunity, just for everything that's happened. It's just like, I'm thankful for everyone, every cast member, every character, every experience. This show is fucking phenomenal. To anyone that comes across this, if you stuck around to this very end or whatever, it's like, if you have a friend that's never watched the show, they need to experience this show. It is like something that everyone should experience. I mean, obviously it's a little bloody for some people, but still, storytelling wise and character development, this show is so lovely, and I cannot wait to see these other actors and everything. There's at least 2 actors I've already seen in something else. Like Anthony Starr is going to be in that new CBS show. Was it CBS? That American Gothic, and we already had Ulrich Thompson on Blacklist. Well, I'm not going to spoil like what, obviously, but being who his character is, it's like, obviously he's going to be sticking around on the Blacklist for quite a while. So it's good to see them. So it's like, I wish everyone, best of luck on, future projects and endeavors. So I kind of feel like maybe at some point, because I've brought it up before, but I've recently went back and rewatched the first season. It's the only one I've rewatched up to this point. So maybe at some point I'll go back and rewatch season 2 and 3, then come back and rewatch this again later on down the line. I don't know. Man, really sad to see this go, but it'd be kind of interesting to see what the creators behind this are capable of making next. Like, what's the next project for them? Will they, because Banshee is kind of its own thing. I've never seen or experienced a show quite like it, so I don't think it's something that can ever be recreated, because Banshee is its own thing. Maybe there'll be shows kind of like it, but there will always only be one Banshee. So, but yeah, that's really all I want to talk about. So guys, till the next time we meet them, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.